Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program. It is 6 after 8 o'clock. We're crossing over to the Western Cape. We're going to be talking with Paul Hendler. He is a long-standing member of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Cape Town, and also Anti-Zionist Jewish South African. We do appreciate him making himself available for this very important interview on the show this morning. This is in regards to a 22-year-old Sandton man who has been exposed as a sniper in Israel. The unit is accused of killing innocent civilians in Gaza, and of course, we are going to be unpacking that. It's actually sent some shivers down my spine thinking that we here post apartheid in South Africa, living in peace and harmony with our fellow South Africans, regardless of their color, creed, nationality, or religious beliefs. And we do live in harmony. Then just to hear that some of the young people in our country have gone across to Israel and they are part of this elite Israeli killing machine. It kind of sends shivers down my spine thinking that I could have passed these people in the street, in the shopping center, not knowing what's going through their minds. Morning, Paul. Welcome to the program. Lovely to have you on the show, but of course, under very, very dire, dark circumstances.
Good morning, Julie, and good morning to your viewers, and thank you for having me.
Okay, I do know that you are very well aware of the backstory to what we're discussing this morning. And of course, the young man that we're talking about has been identified as Aaron Bayhak. He has been identified as a member of an elite Israeli army sniper unit operating in Gaza, and the story was broken by a Palestinian journalist. And of course, I'm just trying to get his name. But he goes on to say that this specific unit has killed more than 100 people in Gaza, including unarmed civilians. And I do have clips of all of those issues. I'm sure you do too, and we'll get into it a little later on in the program. So welcome once again. Your thoughts on this matter?
Yes, the journalist's name is Yunus Tirawi, and he's been researching mainly through social media postings this IDF snipers unit, which is called the Ghost Unit, and he's got I think it's a 35-minute video report on their findings on X for people who want to look at it. It's interesting. It was also picked up by a New 24 journalist, which is quite a mainstream media publication in South Africa. And I find that interesting because they're not known for publishing Israel unfriendly news. So the fact that that is happening suggests that maybe the sort of pro-Zionist hold on the narrative in the media is sort of cracking a bit. So that's just a little bit of that background. And what I also found from viewing Mr. Tirawi's video is that the information is mainly in the public domain. It comes from social media posts of a certain number of members of this unit, the sniper unit. And I think one of them is a guy called Daniel Raab, who's a US citizen, if I'm correct, who's done most of the posting. And interestingly enough, also an interview by, I think, Tirawi with Daniel Raab, because he's since been discharged. I'm not sure what the circumstances of that interview were, whether Raab is, because he doesn't show much remorse in his interview, where he talks about murder as if it's sort of just second nature. And then the killings that they're talking about, they happen mainly near two hospitals, one in Khan Yunis in Gaza, and the other one, the Tel Hawa neighborhood, I think, of Gaza City. And Mr. Tirawi does some sort of triangulated confirmation, by basically picking up corroborating evidence from doctors in these hospitals about civilians, particularly children, being killed with very, very incisive wounds to their head and to their chest, clearly sniper induced killings. And I also just would like to refer to two doctors from the United States who came back recently from a service in Gaza, and who referred to seeing many of these sniper killings that Tirawi, in fact, is laying at the door of this unit. So that's a sort of I think integrity of this report, okay, and News 24, I think in their reporting, say that they've examined the video and that they find the posts and the interview with Daniel Raab, authentic.
Gosh, where do we even start with this issue? And yes, you mentioned News 24. I too was pretty surprised that they carried that report, and I kind of wondered, am I misreading this? Is this perhaps a mistake or what? But you've just confirmed that they too carried the story. I want to read from Yunus Tarawi's postings. He's picked up a message from Melissa Mal Raab Mendelson, the mother of Daniel Raab. And I think I just want to kind of share this to get a sense of the mindset of Zionist thinking. It truly sends a chill down my spine. So I'll read it out quickly and then we can continue. You can let me have your thoughts and see where we move on from here. And I quote, Facebook family and friends, I've been holding off posting anything to ensure that my son's safety and the safety of his IDF sisters and brothers would not be compromised. However, upon my son's request, in efforts to let the world know what is happening in Israel, I'm sharing with you this information. And by the way, that was dated the 9th of October 2023. So we're going back a year, 2 days after the 7th October attack on Israelis. Let me continue with this message. She goes on to say, my son Daniel currently serves in the Israeli army. He, along with his paratrooper unit, have been activated to battle on the Gaza border. So many of you have shown an outpouring of love and support to me and my entire family in the past 48 to 72 hours, asking what you can do, if anything, to help. My son has created a non-for-profit organization to raise funds to go directly to his unit to purchase essential equipment for battle. They are in need for additional and more advanced helmets, rain gear, barrels, vests, sniper stands, silencers, camouflage, and the list goes on. Any donation would be so appreciated. Please continue praying for the safety of every IDF soldier and citizen of Israel. Thank you in advance for your consideration. For all of your loving support, please feel free to share this post. I'm quoting my son as he requested, please share that we are fighting so hard, putting our bodies on the line. So that is from a mother of an IDF soldier? What about the mothers of the innocent Palestinian children and babies that are killed so ruthlessly? I just can't even begin to try and comprehend how people can think along those lines, knowing that there's a genocide now in full swing in Gaza, in Palestine as a whole. Paul.
This mindset that you are describing develops over a long period of time through socialization in the family and in schools. And I'm speaking from my own background, growing up as a Jewish white male in apartheid South Africa, and the notion of us as Jews surviving the German attempt, a genocide of our people, and the notion of us rising from the ashes with the whole world against us through Israel is very deeply imbued in us, in many of us. It's breaking now when you see a new generation in the United States mainly, but also in this country of younger, a younger Jewish generation who questions this othering of the rest of the world. But that's really, you are socialized into this mentality. And I think what it does is it constantly reinforces the idea that there are no other people. There was a land without a people there, and there are no other people. They're only terrorists. We came across in some research that I've been doing in a joint project between ourselves and the Media Review Network, based in Johannesburg, into this recruitment of young volunteers from Jewish families in South Africa to fight in the IDF, a process that Media Review Network has been involved in since 2008, 2009. So that's going back about 15 years to Operation Cast Lead, which was a major murderous genocidal attack on Gaza. And I and colleagues from Cape Town have been involved more directly for a shorter period of time, but also for about 7 years. And we picked up quite a lot of social media posting evidence about volunteers, but we've also picked up anecdotes of the socialization that I'm talking to you about from Jewish private schools like Herzliya and King David, where recruitment takes place.
Okay, Paul, can I interrupt you, please? I do apologize. We need to take our first set of ad breaks, and we'll be back to continue this very important discussion. Please stay with us.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
After the recent attacks on Gaza, many families have been displaced with their homes left destroyed. Through your donations, our teams are on the ground in Gaza, providing support and delivering necessary aid to families affected. The people of Gaza need your help. Give hope. Donate today to Penny Appeal South Africa. www.pennyappeal.org.za 031 1100 573.
We are here on the ground with many appeal organizations in Gaza.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Join Hamza on his exclusive South African tour as he shares his personal experiences, never before seen footage, and powerful insights on the ongoing genocide in Gaza.
This house I'm standing on is completely destroyed. This war should stop. These 5 houses was full of civilians. We are here in the middle of a Zahra neighborhood. People gathering here trying to help people. The whole neighborhood is already destroyed.
This is more than just a talk. It's an invitation to witness Gaza through the lens of Hamza Sha'alan. Don't miss this opportunity to meet the photojournalist who brought Gaza's pain and perseverance to the world in its darkest moments.
Hamza Sha'alan, Rafah border, Gaza.
Follow Salam Media on social media pages for more on this tour and be part of the conversation.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Paul Hendler. He is obviously a long-standing member of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign and also an anti-Zionist Jewish South African. We're talking about the idea of South African soldiers serving in apartheid Israel, and that, of course, is Bayhak, I think the first name being Daniel. I did interrupt you. Paul, do you want to continue talking about socialization of young people and the conditioning? And what I also want to add to that, you can apply your mind to it, is what happens, please God, once this genocide is over? How do these people, apart from the Palestinians, how they're going to rebuild their lives? But what about the impact on these IDF soldiers? How are they going to be able to live with themselves and their conscience of what they had done?
Just to give you an anecdote about the socialization, we have a report from one of the alumni from Herzliya School about recruiting by IDF people, on the campus who appear in civilian clothes. One of these reported a movie or video, whatever, being shown as part of the recruiting, which had the hunting down of a so-called terrorist, and referred to quite sort of jokingly, okay? And then the person who wrote this into us said that this is actually fairly mild from the stories he's heard about the types of comments and othering comments that are made at King David in Johannesburg. So I think these anecdotes just give one a sense of the environment where othering is so deeply entrenched that you don't even recognize, and you actively, as a Zionist or a Zionist supporter, you actively get outraged at the suggestion that there could be genocide going on here. And this is actually quite consistent with, the response by the leadership there, from Netanyahu down to the International Court of Justice case. And the way it gets sort of, in a way, misinterpreted. I was looking at a discussion between Zionists and anti-Zionist hosted by Piers Morgan, I think it is, in the US a couple of days ago. And there's a complete rejection from the Zionist military side that the ICJ said anything about plausible genocide being committed, and that it's actually being a lie that is peddled against the real victims, which is the Jewish state, which again, Jewish victimhood is an ideology all of its own. I use the word ideology to show that it's mendacious, okay? It's sort of at best a half-truth and at worst a lie. That is developed in the socialization where you've got to actually put yourself into a fortress state. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. And that is actually quite core to this mother's response, to her child. And having said that, I think a large number of Jewish people across the world haven't gone to live in Israel, and they just sort of avoid the debates. I think we're talking about a limited number who are ideologically very, very conscious and committed and see it as their calling to go and volunteer, the way this Aaron Bayback, I think his name has done, and many others. I mean, we have names going back to 2008 of I think close to 100 so-called lone soldiers. But you had another point that you also raised besides the socialization. I'm sorry, I've just forgotten it. I wanted to respond to that also. What was that again?
Okay, it slipped my mind as well, but let's just stick with the socialization for now. How come people like yourself and very many other like-minded Jewish people, not only in South Africa, but all around the world, think differently to Zionism? What is it that, what went wrong with your exposure to that kind of negative socialization, that I'm sitting here in front of a Jewish man who thinks, behaves, and is as human and humane as I am?
Well, that is a very interesting question. I when I was a young teenager, I was a committed Zionist in a Zionist youth movement, which was a labor Zionist youth movement. And it gave me, under an apartheid sort of regime of censorship, it gave me access to socialist narratives, which I later learned were quite sort of inverted into a form of national socialism by Zionist labor, the Zionist labor movement that really colonized Palestine. But it gave me access to that, and it gave me access to very contradictory narratives to what was going on and what had gone on in the colonization of Palestine. And so from a fairly young age, I became a bit of a doubting Thomas until those sort of contradictions couldn't be maintained anymore. And I had to shift. I had to move morally and just in terms of what I saw was historical reality. So what I'm trying to say is, in any situation of ideological interpolation, identity formation through socialization, there are inherent contradictions. I mean, in the case of Herzliya that I mentioned to you earlier, a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, a number of pupils at the school assembly took the knee when Hatikva, the Israeli national anthem, was sung, for which they were disciplined quite severely and punished. and it brought out protests from 100 past alumni from the school, including high academic achievers, head boys, head girls, who protested the taking away of the freedom of speech of these scholars in an educational institution. And I don't know where those 100 stood on the question of were they Zionists or weren't they, but they clearly were people who were prepared to listen to a completely counter narrative and demanded the right, of that counter narrative to be heard. So for me, that was again, that contradiction coming through, and the root of that contradiction coming through is the sort of steadfastness or persistence of the Palestinian people, particularly certain formations that just don't give up on their struggle for freedom and their struggle for life. Because
Okay. Paul, we are running out of time. My final question to you, but a short, sharp answer if you don't mind. I know that you've been working with Media Review Network for a very, very long time. They are an advocacy group, and they put out a lot of statements to obviously put out the correct narrative so that people realize what is the truth. How much more work does Media Review Network need to do to push back against all of these false narratives and the socialization, the false socialization of Jewish people, and creating this hatred, absolute hatred towards, as you said, others and othering?
Julie, our focus in this joint project between PSC Cape Town and MRN is to, and we have already submitted on 3 occasions, the names of individuals who have violated 4 pieces of legislation in South Africa, and also the names of institutions that have violated the Prevention of Organized Crime Act by allowing their premises to be used for criminal activities, i.e. recruiting for a foreign military organization involved in what is in fact terrorism. And so that's our focus. It's a political focus. It's a focus on having the law of our own country enforced and applied without fear or favor. Unfortunately, or whether it's unfortunate or not, but the reality is that the National Prosecuting Authority has stalled, and on very, very extensive submissions that make the case, they have stalled. They have not gone to investigate and even interview potential suspects, and they seem to be in some sort of a relationship with the Zionist forces, and to be reluctant to actually follow through.
Okay, Paul, I do apologize, but that's where we have to leave it. I do wish we had more time. There's so much to uncover with you, but hopefully we will hook up with you again in the future. Thank you and God bless.
Shalom Aleichem.
Walaikum assalam. It is exactly 8:35. News and Views moving along. Our next guest is on standby. He is Nazir Paulson. He is the EFF Central Command member, to talk about exactly what we covered with this morning with Paul Hendler. So please do stay with us.